I change things, still I fear the answer's no. In this fucked up world in which I feel I stand alone. All this hate that I feel for you, my one true enemy, once was blind, but now I see. It makes me question, why do we choose to live this way? I try to free my mind from what's not meant to be. It makes me question why.
You know, it must be said right now that had this not been a request, this is so not the game I would review. But it seems appropriate now considering we're like on the threshold of the Warcraft movie coming out. I didn't plan that. That just kind of happened. So, like I said, I am so not the guy to be reviewing this game. I'm just not. You might think that I might be really into RTSs, and to a certain extent that's true. I just, for someone who likes RTSs, I haven't had that much experience with RTSs. Like you're probably, some of you are probably like, oh, you play League? And like, yes, but League is not really an RTS. It is, but it's based off of a mod of an RTS and doesn't really work the same. You're not managing an army. Though, you know, I have played others, mostly StarCraft 2. And since I played StarCraft 2, you'd think, well, you should probably be able to get into Warcraft just fine. And yes, but it's not the same game. It's not. And people that say it is are wrong, because it's not. It does not work like StarCraft 2 at all. It doesn't work like StarCraft 1 at all. It is so... I was surprised, genuinely. I was pleasantly surprised by how different it was, and it makes more sense to me now that people have always been clamoring for a Warcraft 4, because it doesn't work like StarCraft. They're not the same game. They're similar features, but that's mostly interface similarities and not necessarily mechanic similarities. I guess the best place to start would be the graphics and sound, because let's just get them out of the way, why not? Visually, the game is weird. I don't quite know how to put this. It's not necessarily bad, given the age, but the character animations in-game are really strange. Like, everyone's a bobblehead, and the lip flaps are just insane. Like, it's just so bizarre, and it really can kind of distract you, because from the overall presentation in general. Now, granted, the pre-rendered cinematics are absolutely gorgeous, and those are fantastic. Except that, for some reason, the cinematics were not running on my version of Warcraft 3. Like I could hear sound, but the actual cinematics themselves refused to play. It was just a black screen. I don't know why that was happening. I did not make it a point to try to fix that, because you can just look up all the cinematics on YouTube anyway, so whatever. Now, the sound is actually pretty decent. The voice acting's alright too, although some of the peasants are just hilarious. I swear some of the devs got in the sound studio and just did those voices themselves rather than actually getting a professional, because they are so bad sometimes. It's almost funny. And all this, I wouldn't bitch about it if it didn't distract me from the overall plot to a certain extent. I can get past it sometimes, but the story in this game is really, really good. Like, the narrative is fantastic, and it's dark as shit sometimes. I mean, it's okay, Arthas. We'll just murder an entire town, because that's a very reasonable reaction to things. And what? You're gonna get that cursed sword that's totally not gonna cause, you know, like thousands of deaths or anything? It's fine. No problem. Just lie to your man about destroying your own ships. Man, you know what? This actually pisses me off. I need to talk about this. And I don't mind giving away spoilers at this point, because anybody who's played any of the Warcraft games knows the story of this game by now. It's been like 15 goddamn years. It's fine. I can talk about it. Okay. It bothers me a little bit, because hearing about it through people and then actually playing the game, it differs, because people are like, oh yeah, it so sucks what happened to Arthas, he was such a good guy. And I'm playing the game, and I'm like, I'm not sure that's the case. I'm not saying the story's bad, but I'm saying is Arthas was not really a great guy. He was kind of a prick. And that was ultimately his problem. That's why he was so easily swayed and taken advantage of. Because he wasn't very noble. Like, he tried to be. He obviously wanted to be, but he wasn't. Like, he was willing to do things that a paladin of his caliber should not have been able to do, or been willing to do, at all. At all. And he was so full of himself, like, all the time. So sure that what he was doing was right. And at one point a character mentions that's very admirable, and yes, but it's also the reason why all of this happened. Like, just, if he wasn't such a colossal prick all the time, you know, maybe so many people wouldn't have died. You know, if there's any sorrow to be had, it isn't for Arthas in my mind. It's for the people that ultimately suffered because of his actions. So, yeah, I don't know why people feel bad for Arthas, because I fucking don't. I really don't. Like, watching what he did before he was cursed, I'm just like, you totally asked for that. It's not like in StarCraft with Kerrigan. I feel kind of bad for Kerrigan. She was abandoned and, you know, captured and twisted into the Queen of Blades. That was not her choice. Arthas, completely on his own, decided to do what he did. So, it's not the same thing, at least not to me. Okay, so enough bitching about the story. It's a good story. It really is. It's great. I just feel like, you know, I have been misled in terms of the content now that I'm actually playing it. I would actually recommend people who have not played this game to do it before I even get done with the review, because it's a good game. Why am I making a recommendation now? I haven't even talked about the gameplay yet. What the hell's wrong with me? I mentioned this game is different from StarCraft in many respects. And I think the best way to explain this is it's not as rigid as StarCraft is. Because in StarCraft you have your minerals and your gas. Those are your two main resources to work with. And they're always in the same place. You never have to walk further to get the minerals or Vespene gas, unless of course you place your base like a retard. In Warcraft, that's true for the gold mines. There's a single gold mine to work with in your starting base. You can obviously find other gold mines. But then your other resource is wood. And wood is strange, because you have to cut down trees to do that, but you don't have an unlimited supply of trees. You can't just keep going to the same tree. It's not like the gas, where you always get the gas from the gas vein, and at no other point do you do anything else. The trees, however, get cut down, so slowly but surely your ability to get wood is slowing down as the game wears on, because you have to walk further and further and further to get it. It's an interesting mechanic, although it doesn't apply to all races, because there are multiple races in this game, just like with StarCraft. There are 4 here, as opposed to StarCraft's 3. You have your humans, you have your elves, night elves specifically, you have orcs, because of course you do, and you have the undead. And not everyone has to walk to get the wood. I'm speaking specifically from what I played in the multiplayer of the elves. The elves have wisps, which can just circle and just like kind of produce wood. They don't even have to cut down the trees to do that. The catch is that they technically produce wood a bit slower early game, but as you get more wisps, your wood count gets ridiculous, and you never run out of trees, from what I gathered. Like, none of the trees I was working with ever got cut down, because I guess elves don't do that. So technically speaking, they have the potential for a greater wood count than any other race in the game, as far as I could tell. Now, that being said, the races are just so varied because of this, because of getting resources and the way they get resources and stuff like that. Like, everyone in StarCraft gets and maintains resources in the same friggin' way. Okay? Every single one of them. They all have miners, and they all get the minerals and the gas. They all have, you know, buildings to put on the gas. The only major difference is that Protoss warps things and it doesn't have to spend time building them like Terran does, and Zerg has to sacrifice a worker in order to build any building ever, because Blizzard hates Zerg. I don't know. Warcraft 3 feels way more dynamic as a result of the massive differences. Like these are big deals. Like I don't even know how you go about balancing this in a competitive field, because the races are so freaking different. They do not work at all the same way. And like I said, compared to StarCraft, there's a lot more variability. There's a lot more variety to work with. I felt like there could have been more units overall. The unit count's pretty low, but given the differences in terms of approach that each race has, that doesn't seem like that big of a deal all in all. There are, of course, similarities. I mean, you have your upgrade, depots, you have your, your workers and your peasants and stuff and all that, it's got the same basic premise, but it takes the RTS idea and makes it a more variable structure. Not every game is going to be the same as a direct result, because not every race works the same way. StarCraft's great. I love StarCraft, especially StarCraft 2. I'm a big fan of StarCraft 2. I am. Okay. But eventually, because of how rigid StarCraft 2 is, you end up locking yourself into the same basic plays. You do this at this time, you do this at this time, you do this at this time. I mean, it's all very set. There are, literally, you can literally write out plans on how to do this. And you can do the same thing with Warcraft 3, that's true, but it's not nearly as easy. And because things are so subject to change in Warcraft 3 with the way things work, and the different maps, and the different locations for resources and stuff, ultimately, I feel like there's more variety in Warcraft 3. The downside is, I'm not sure whether it would apply as well in a competitive capacity. Although, now that I say that, I should probably point out that the servers for playing Warcraft 3 multiplayer are still up, and you absolutely can. Although I really wouldn't recommend that, because the people who play Warcraft 3 nowadays, as I found out the hard way, are not new players like me. These are people that have been playing this game for 15 fucking years. And they will crush you. Like they crushed me. I stood no chance. If we were playing StarCraft 2, I probably would have stood a much better chance, but I have basically no experience with Warcraft 3, leave me alone. There really isn't much else for me to say. And that was actually one of the things holding me back from reviewing this game for a while, because I didn't really know what I would say about Warcraft 3. It's not really my thing necessarily. Like, I prefer a rigid structure. I prefer things that are set. I'm very, very specific about what I like. Here, because everything's more dynamic, it feels more chaotic as a result, and maybe that's just me. I'm willing to accept that maybe it's just me not being used to the game at all. I'm sure I'm gonna get a few comments from people who've been playing this game for years telling me that it's not nearly as dynamic as I think it is. And, hey, I got plenty of plays, and you can do things by the numbers, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I get it. Okay, I understand. And you're probably right. I have not played this game as long as you. I just need you to understand that. Okay, and I've never, nothing I said so far is negative, except like the worst I said, that the visuals and some of the voice acting can be kind of funny. That is like the worst thing I've said about this game so far, so you all need to just chill out. I just need you to know that. And this is a preemptive discussion because I just felt like when I touched this game, I was gonna step on somebody's toes and I really didn't want to do that. So I'm just telling you that I'm not bashing the game when I say that I like StarCraft 2 better. And it's not really a fair comparison when compared to StarCraft 2. Because I like StarCraft 2 more than I like StarCraft 1. And that has to do with the interface. Because the interface in Warcraft 3 is decent, but it has not aged nearly as well as I would have liked. StarCraft 2, for what people will say about it, I know some people think, Brood War was the best, and that's fine. From a balancing perspective, I can understand that. But I don't think anyone's going to dispute this from an interface perspective. StarCraft 2 is fantastic. The game interface is just, it's near perfect. It is just so easy to work with. You're never fighting with the interface when you're playing this game. Warcraft 3 and StarCraft Brood War are not like that. The interface can be very difficult to get used to and to work with, especially if you're going from StarCraft 2 to either of those games. You know what I'm saying? Like it's almost jarring. But hey, still good game. I'm just trying to say. And before I end this, I just need to address something because I feel like it's gonna be brought up. Warcraft 4. Are we ever gonna see that? Is that a thing that is ever gonna happen? Because I'm not so sure. Because if you take everything that we have so far when it comes to information, and everything that Blizzard has done over the last 15 years since Warcraft 3, I'm not sure they're gonna make Warcraft 4. Why would they make Warcraft 4? Besides fan demand, what possible reason do they have to make Warcraft 4? I don't see one. But I think for all the good you can say about WoW, World of Warcraft and what it did for Warcraft as a whole, because let's be realistic, initially especially, WoW brought Warcraft into the mainstream. I will concede at this time that I did not know Warcraft was a thing until WoW. I didn't know there was even older Warcraft games before I played WoW.
Filthy casual.
Shut up. Bite me, okay? I was a console gamer when I was young. Leave me alone. My point is that I'm not sure whether they'd have a reason to invest time and money into making a classic Warcraft game when World of Warcraft has effectively not only, catapulted their series into, making a movie territory, but it has also made them literally all the money in the universe. WoW has been such a massive moneymaker for Blizzard. It, I would argue, is one of the major reasons why they are such a freaking titan when it comes to games now, and why all their new games have such high production values. Because they have so much freaking money just from World of Warcraft. It reinvented, a fairly new genre at the time. A genre we didn't even know needed reinventing. It brought, the idea of a massively multiplayer game, into the mainstream. Like, before we had, EverQuest and Ultima Online. And you know what? Those were great games. But WoW's formula was so addicting and so fantastic that it just catapulted the genre into the public eye. And people have been saying that WoW has been dying for, over 5 years now. It is still one of the top massively multiplayer online RPGs. It is still, top tier when it comes to subscription investment and everything. Yeah, sure, it's been on the outs for a long time, but it's still there all this time later. My point is that why would they invest in a Warcraft 4 when they could just invest in the next successor to World of Warcraft 2, or whatever they want to call it? It makes more financial sense, unfortunately. The other problem is that they wouldn't want to make a Warcraft game right now, because that would directly compete with their other already pre-existing RTS, StarCraft. Right now, if you take a look at Blizzard's freaking, client system they got working, they have a very, very nice coverage when it comes to game genres. Not a single one competes with the other one. They have a freaking card game, they have, their own MOBA, they have a first-person shooter, they have their RTS, they have their, MMORPG, and they have a freaking roguelike. And if they added another Warcraft, that would directly interfere with people that are playing StarCraft. They're in the same genre. They wouldn't have the same kind of genre coverage. So from a logical perspective, they wouldn't want to make a game that would directly compete with one of their own games, you would say, oh, but they'll make money from the sales of Warcraft. That's true, but then not many people would be playing StarCraft. And maybe their logic is to, at the very least, wait a while before even considering another RTS, wait till StarCraft 2 is on the outs. That might make some sense, because they were talking about a freaking World of StarCraft thing a long time ago, which they inevitably abandoned probably because it wouldn't work that well. But I'm just saying, I'm just not sure whether they ever will make a Warcraft 4 when it doesn't make any financial sense for them to do that. I don't know. Maybe if the movie does really well, maybe they'll think about it. Because, people are excited for the movie. I'm sure people who aren't even fans of the series will, be happy to go see the movie. And by the way, if I read one more frickin' article by some news site that doesn't know what the hell they're talking about how the new Warcraft movie is an adaptation of the frickin' MMO, I'm gonna flip out. Because, seriously, even I know that the fucking movie is based off of the fucking plot from the original Warcraft game, which apparently nobody else knows exists. So, it bothers me. I'm just trying to say, okay? But Warcraft 3, good game, and is available if you, dig a little on Blizzard's site. You can absolutely go to them and they will still let you buy it, and you can still play it. Probably worth it. I'm just saying. Till next time, this is Darkness, and I bid you all a fond farewell.